words to the assembled multitudes here. I said, well, I'll be delighted to do that, although some people have regretted asking me to say a few words. But I will promise, as I promised him, to try to live up to that. But I'm really, somebody said this is the 30th anniversary of the group, and this is the 50th anniversary year of when Marge and Jay and Diane and I met, because we had just had the great good fortune of buying this house and had no idea whatsoever who our neighbors were going to be. And one of the great blessings of my life and Diane's life and our kids is that we had the privilege of finding just 2 doors away neighbors that are just not in great supply. And I think through all the years that we've been associated with the Rossis, for some of the younger people, I think you probably have heard this before, but Marge and Jay and Diane and I got so close and so fast that we decided to build a vacation home together, and we wound up building that home and running it for many, many years and enjoying the great adventures that we had there, as well as all the others. We had 32 consecutive New Year's Eve celebrations together, and we just got along like bugs in a rug. It was wonderful. I loved your parents, we loved your parents, and your grandparents, and for soon to be great grandparents, I guess. So there are a lot of generations and in between. And one of the many things that we really admired about Marge and Jay was when they decided to form this foundation 30 years ago. And I like the inspiration behind it and the way they handled it. And I think that in a world in which we find ourselves today, when there are more and more people needing more and more help, and which uncertainty is the rule of today, who knows what's going to happen. And we've said that, obviously, as Casey Stengel said, I never make predictions, especially about the future. I'm a little short on supply in that regard, but I believe the people that say basically we ain't seen nothing yet, and what we're seeing is nothing that portends good fortune. But so we're faced with what we've got, and we've got to play that hand. And I just would suggest that all of you who have dedicated a good portion of your lives to working for the benefit of others, and I'm sure you take a lot of satisfaction in the work that you've done and will do, and the world is in desperate need of more people like that. The job isn't going to come easier. I was on the executive committee of the board of the National Association of Broadcasters 30 years ago. When we met, we had a board meeting in Palm Springs, and we invited in for the board meeting the guy who was running the MIT Media Lab at that time as our speaker. And he opened the conference with the assembled radio and television boards, which together formed the full board. And he opened his remarks by saying, I'm pleased that you invited me here today, but I don't think you're going to like what I have to say. I'm not suggesting that's the case today, although all you have to do is look around and say that there's plenty of things that have happened in the intervening years that have proved that he was right, because what he was telling the broadcasting business was that a revolution in communications was on the way, the likes of which the world had never seen. And then he went on to explain what he saw in the future, and he turned out to be right, of course. But so the boards broke up for their separate meetings, and the television board, after it was over, I asked the guy who conducted the meeting, I said, and he was talking, the MIT fellow was talking about television in particular, and he said, so I asked the board member what they had to say about that, and he said, oh, we didn't even discuss it. And that was their biggest mistake that I can imagine, because they were not prepared for the future. And right now, the only thing I can suggest is that, first of all, I think that we are better prepared for the future in terms of expecting the unexpected, and that's on the good side and the bad side. But the people that recognized the opportunities that came along at that time, both in the broadcasting world, I mean the people from the broadcasting world who recognized it and did something about it, survived and thrived, and those who didn't were washed out. And the broadcasting world as we know it is full of bankrupt companies, just like newspaper business and some major television operators and so forth. So be prepared, as the scouts used to say. Take now, look at the world, see what you can do to do your bit to help out a bit. And some of us, like me, I'm too old to worry too much about the future, except I worry about about our families and the kids and the generations yet to come in many respects. But I hope that that your future, that your work will benefit the increasingly very large number of people that are needing more help, and it's getting more difficult all the time. So the future is uncertain, but I think that one thing you can certainly expect is that those who are prepared are going to do better than those who are not. And I would just pass that along with my sincere hope that you will carry on the fine work of the Rossi Foundation in doing good for others, and Godspeed. Thank you very, very much.